So this time I wanted to talk a little about balance. Last time I was talking about mastery as a good way of describing what links our Western intellectual tradition with the economic regime that we find ourselves living in, with the destruction of the natural world, inequality, everything else, this striving for mastery. And as I'm quite fond of referring to, in the Vimalakirti Sutra, one of the foundation texts of Mahayana Buddhism, Vimalakirti says, I am sick because the world is sick. And I suppose there's a sense in which you can say that our practice is how to try and live a sane life in a mad world. What takes us in the direction of mastery and madness, and what takes us in the direction of something more livable, something more sane. So, our practice there is there to burst our bubble, really, very often, in many ways. There's some lovely stories about the founder of our tradition, Joko Beck. Whether in public or private, somebody would bring a wonderful, overwhelming insight experience which they'd had to her. And she would go, very nice. How's your relationship with your mother at the moment? And this is so much what our practice is about, but it doesn't even have to be that dramatic. It can be, how's your relationship with that pain in your knee? How's your relationship with that thought that just keeps bubbling up and keeps bubbling up while you're sitting? How's your relationship with yourself? All the different aspects of you. My knee, my back, my thoughts, my hopes, my fears, my memories, my awareness. These are all me, different aspects of me. And they don't and they won't always point in the same direction at all times. They don't and they won't always agree. If my knee's killing me, I've been sitting for 20 minutes and I really screamingly need to move, of course, I obviously have a choice. Either move or don't move. But what's my relationship with that pain in my knee? My knee and my pain that's also me. Is it something I'm trying to push away? Is it something I'm trying to blot out? Is it something I'm trying to explore and experience, the texture of it, the way it's changing? These are all different kinds of advice you'll get in different styles of sitting. It's complicated. As soon as we start to take this sitting business seriously, it's complicated. Not because there's anything to master. My two favourite pieces of advice for meditation, sit down and shut up, are my own teacher's advice, you can't do it wrong, which is a lovely tease because we spend so much of our practice thinking, I'm doing it right, I'm doing it wrong. So I'm not supposed to find that a problem. One comment, which was nice, was likening our thoughts to our children. as they grow from babies through teenagers. Sometimes we get on, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they do what we want them to. Sometimes they very definitely have ideas of their own. And yet, they're sharing. There's relationship, there's love, there's richness there. So am I friends with all the different aspects of myself? I'm going to suggest that in its way, paying attention, being aware to what's happening in my mind, my body, in a way that's kind, in a way that's curious, in a way which sticks to that actual experiencing of it. And so often we're talking about turning away or not turning away. The temptation to turn away, sometimes the overwhelming feeling of need to turn away from what I'm experiencing just in this actual moment. I'm going to suggest that to the extent that we can and do and stay with that, even the aspiration to stay with that, is really quite something. And if we do that with kindness and with care, it's something very different from mastery. So am I trying to become master of my thoughts, master of my body, subdue it to my will, my abstract, I want this? Or am I actually part of the relationship between everything that's me? My thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my need, my hopes, my dreams, my fears, my memories. Is this mutuality, or is this an attempt at domination? When we come to practice, it's perfectly understandable that whether we do it consciously or not, a lot of the time we're asking the question, what am I going to get out of it? And in fact, it's my teacher, Barry Magid, who's really, I think, pointed better than any other teacher to the, let's face it, fantasies we bring. What's it going to do for me? Is it going to transform me? Am I going to be this all-powerful being, or am I just going to have an easy life? Or will people suddenly start to like me? Or, all of these notions we have, will it just stop these thoughts in my head? What do I want out of practice? How will I use it to fix my life? Because so often we're wanting practice to fix my life. Control. We all feel the limits to our control. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, because the one thing in this practice, above all, that we need to be is honest with ourselves. Stay honest as we possibly can. What do I actually feel? What am I actually thinking? Not what I think I should be, not what I think it would be cool to, not what I think somebody else is feeling or thinking or whatever. What's actually happening in me, as me, here, now? That's what our practice is about. This is the opposite of mastery, and this is why I think our practice, in a way, just is quite radical. Because mastery is always about expansion. It's always about the next thing. It's always about incorporation. And my fantasies play into that. I want to fix things. I want tomorrow, the day after, next year to be better. I want there to be more. I want to have more. I want to be more. And, it's how we are. But can we be aware of that? And can we be aware of what that's actually doing in us and with us? Another of Joko Beck's lovely little sayings on average, it takes about 5 years for people to work out what this practice is about. Then they leave. They hear the Dalai Lama's in town. That sounds exciting. He'll fix me. Off we trot. Because this practice is actually, finally, firstly, about saying, no, this is it. It isn't somewhere else. It isn't tomorrow. It isn't in Japan. It isn't yesterday. It's not when I'm better. It's not when I'm having a good sitting. It's not when I'm enlightened. This. Just this. This is it. No need for more. No need for different. Which doesn't mean that things will ever stay the same. They won't. That's the basic principle of Zen. Basic principle of Buddhism. What's the fundamental truth of Zen? It just changed. That is the fundamental truth of Zen. It changing, always changing. Because this is it. I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes ago. I'm not the same person quite. I will be in 10 minutes' time. You neither, obviously. This is life. This is movement. This is change. And to the extent that we can stay with this, just being this, and our zazen, our sitting meditation, is the laboratory in which we see. How far can I stay with this, as this? Realise that just this is me, experiencing, feeling my knee, my back, noticing that thought, whether it's the first time or the millionth time it's come up. Feeling that odd constriction across my chest or pain in my back that kind of associates with this or that feeling. Just being aware of what's actually happening in this thing, as this thing, this thinking, feeling, eating, the other stuff, being, embodied being, that's vulnerable, that feels pain, that gets sad, that's going to die, disappear entirely. But now, in this moment, is just this. A word that's central to the idea of mastery, and all the time I'm trying to contrast mastery with, well, I'm calling this talk balance. Seems as good a title as any. Just balance. Because mastery is about this need to expand and expand and expand infinitely. And balance is just this. So, a word which is important is instrumental. See, is my meditation for something? Is my zazen for something? Is my practice for something? To an extent, of course it always is. My fantasies will tell me something of that. My perfectly reasonable hopes and expectations will tell me something about that. But is it for something in an instrumental kind of way? The basis of the instrumental is the thing itself is not important. You can substitute it. My car's a write-off. I simply hire another one. Doesn't matter. That relationship fails. Hey, I'll get another girlfriend. Doesn't matter. You can use people instrumentally. You can use things instrumentally. They're interchangeable. It doesn't matter. So, is there a pill I can take that will make me 10 times as aware, that will make me 5 times as compassionate, that when I enter the figures into the app will make me 3.7215 times a better person? And if there is, do I take the pill? And do I go, I don't need to do that Zen rubbish anymore. Got my pill, fine. That's instrumental. There's something I'm hoping to get out of it. But the experience of being just this is actually just the experience of being just this. There's no substitute, nothing to change, no alternative. It's what it is. And as my teacher says, it's the only pointless thing, the only truly pointless thing you will ever do in your life is your zazen. And of course, that's the point of it. Because it's not instrumental, it's not for something in that sense. Okay. So is my Zen practice, this kind of perfectly hermetically sealed bit where I'm just so cool, so mellow, so calm, so untroubled, so balanced. Then I go and get on with the madness of life. Or is it the laboratory where I just discover what it is to experience non-instrumentally, to relate to all these different aspects of myself, even maybe to be shown things about relationships with other people, how I am in the world. We talk about work-life balance. Obviously, our Zen practice is relevant to that. But are we thinking of work-life balance in a kind of, again, instrumental way? How can I get the most out of this? How can I make myself more effective at home? How can I... So much of this is driven by, well, obviously, if we have a proper job, our employers want us to do that. They want us to turn up then. They want us to care about this in a way which is absolutely instrumental, and in the context of work, you can understand that. But when you get home and that's creating tensions with your family, because actually, you've got to be there then, whereas actually, it would be good if it were more flexible, if you could. Classic instances we talk about, turn up for the school play or whatever. But no, because it has to be this way. These are forces acting on us, all kinds of forces of, elements of the instrumental, elements of mastery that exist throughout our world, throughout our society as we actually live in it. And of course, this life, the world of work is important, the world of family is important. Is the world of priorities, the world of achievements. Well, I want to have that job by the time I'm 40 or 50. I want to be that famous. I want to have this relationship. I want to have 2.7 children. I want to have... Am I thinking about my life in that way? Or is it more just this? We talk about approaching our lives, each other, with openness and with possibility. And in this space that hopefully exists within my Zazen as a possibility. Openness and possibility are just this. If I'm just this and you're just this, we meet each other without preconception. We meet each other without agenda. An agenda is always going to be, to a greater or lesser degree, instrumental. And there's nothing wrong with the instrumental. But we just need it where it's in the way that's appropriate. If I'm wanting to open a tin of beans, use my can opener. That's just got to function as a can opener, for heaven's sake. If it doesn't work, I'll get another one, whatever. It's there to do a job. That's fine. Even so, I might as well treat it with appropriate care. I might as well keep it clean. I might as well notice whether the edges got knocked off. I might keep it somewhere to hand. I might check that it's not going to stab anybody if they open the drawer and just root around. Even with things, there's still a way of taking care. And taking care and appropriate care always runs counter to that strictly instrumental sense. People, animals, things, they'll have the kinds of care, the kinds of relationships which are appropriate and inappropriate. When am I treating you or the thing that I hold in my hand as just a unimportant object to be replaced, dismissed? If you're a person, do I treat you as a real other with feelings, vulnerability, hopes, fears of your own? Can I approach you as that? Or can I only see you as what you might do for me, the threat you pose, the opportunity you offer? These attitudes are something which come to us from the world in which we live, from the society in which we live. But as that then, our practice offers us an opportunity to experience, to build a different kind of way of being in the world. Hopefully, that's a way we experience anyway with our partners, our children, our parents, our friends, the responsibilities we choose to take on. But always this tension, this slight mismatch between taking it instrumentally or taking it relationally, taking it in a more balanced way. And again, we can offer care in our practice, trying to set up a regular practice, keeping my equipment keen, my mat, my stool, knowing where it is, getting it out, putting it away again, clearing the space. If I'm the kind of practitioner who keeps a little altar, making sure that's clean, neat, arranged properly, dressed. Caring about it, caring for it. Caring for these things not because they're special in the sense of being different, but because they're special literally just in the sense of being what they are. Like everything else, people, animals, plants, just what they are. And offering them appropriate relationship, appropriate care. And we need to care for ourselves as well in exactly the same way. And practice is one way of offering ourselves appropriate care in so many different ways. We practice with awareness. We practice choosing, as far as we're able, not to turn away from my reality, my experience of being just this. Whether that's the painful knee or the really uncomfortable thought I don't want to think about, the memory that, not to turn away, not to just dismiss, to stay with, to see how it unfolds, to let it run its course. The madness of our world, frankly, is often overwhelming. But to the extent that we can learn to stay with our emotions, with our feelings, our physical sensations, without simply becoming overwhelmed by them, floored by them, needing to imaginatively or in reality run screaming from the room, we become what Joko Beck calls a bigger container. Because the experience of being just this can help ground us in relationship with, well, even the natural world, everything that's dismissed by the idea of the instrumental, by the idea of mastery, everything which gets eaten up and chewed and spat out indifferently. To really look at that flower, to really look at that caterpillar, to experience the sunset not as some romantic idea of a sunset, but actually as being this, just this, that's just this too. To have an honest relationship, to listen to those things, listen to those people that instrumentality, that mastery would tell us are unimportant. The migrant, the refugee, the child, the person thousands of miles away that's not my business, not my concern. Listen to their story, to their voice. There, just this, how it is, how it actually is. Become intimate with myself and all these things, and my practice as the hinge of that. How that turns to bear witness, whether that bearing witness is speaking my truth or just being aware of my truth in this body. Towards relationship, towards what is literally embodied, the feeling, towards what's just this, the particular, the specific, towards everything that isn't abstract and disembodied, towards just this. And in that way, my Zazen, my Zen practice become radical, revolutionary, but hopefully balanced, sane, as something we share